hair. Hallie took her time switching off the ignition, giving herself a minute to assimilate this unexpected twist. Curiosity warred with homecoming dread. What was he doing here? She climbed out of the car and pocketed the keys without locking up, leaving everything to unload later. Several thoughts raced through her mind as she pushed her door closed. What had she done to deserve having her old boyfriend on her reception committee? Why couldn't she have worn something classier than her oldest pair of jeans and a t-shirt she should have thrown out years ago? And most importantly, how should she act toward him? She couldn't very well ignore him since he was sitting there big as life, and she had no intention of running up the white flag and making friendly with the man who had broken her heart. So what did that leave her? She caught her bottom lip in her teeth. Think, Hallie. Creating images was her stock in trade, right? If she could make a living teaching people how to appear cool and unflappable, she should be able to pull off the same thing for herself. She took a deep breath, releasing it slowly. Come on, girl. You can do it. She'd been over him a long time. She may be shaken by his surprise appearance, but truthfully, Trey Gunther no longer rated even a minor blip on her radar. Hallie crossed the small square of freshly mown lawn. From the cover of her sunglasses, she made a quick survey of her welcoming committee, now standing at the top of the stairs. Her mom looked tired. Poor thing. She'd aged a lot in the month since her stroke. Once a bundle of energy, the stroke had broken her. The bored, straight posture she'd modeled for her two daughters had been replaced with stooped shoulders and a wobbly stance. She'd lost weight in rehab, even more in the few days since Hallie had last seen her. This morning, her peach-colored tracksuit hung loosely on her hunched frame. Standing beside Trey, she looked positively fragile. Hallie's gaze shifted. Trey looked fabulous. Darn it. It'd be a whole lot easier to play it cool if his hair had decided to recede and his waistline expanded. Funny, she thought as she closed the distance between them. She'd forgotten just how good-looking Trey was. Of course, she hadn't been within 20 feet of him in close to a decade. Evidently, she'd let bitterness distort her memories. Over time, she'd half convinced herself he was just an average-looking guy. Tall and tan, with thick blonde-streaked hair and a chiseled face with 3-day-old whiskers that brought out a handsome ruggedness, he could be a poster boy for Mr. All-American Hunk. Beyond being blessed with great looks, Trey had always possessed an indefinable something that drew people to him like a magnet drew metal. Even as a teenager, Trey had exuded charm by the truckload. The rock-solid presence of him seemed to promise stability. People immediately assumed Trey was dependable and trustworthy, which just went to show how wrong assumptions could be. Hallie! Her mother lifted her 4-pronged cane in a jerky wave, her left arm dangling at her side like a broken wing. Ignoring him for the moment, Hallie trotted up the painted wooden steps and gathered her mother into a gentle hug, careful not to upset her precarious balance. Hi, Mom. How are you feeling? Better, now that I'm home. Her mother drew back, a fresh coat of her trademark tangerine lipstick on her smile. Aren't you surprised to see Trey here? Though surprise didn't begin to cover her feelings at seeing her old flame standing on her porch, she kept her expression neutral when she turned toward him. Hey. Hey. His smile was as impersonal as hers, his gaze cool and assessing. He must have felt his presence required an explanation. My mom planned to drive your mother this morning, but her arthritis was acting up, so I offered to bring your mother home. Hallie didn't know where the tiny dart of disappointment came from. She hadn't honestly believed he was here to confess he'd suddenly discovered he couldn't live another minute without her. Even so, she'd be lying to say she hadn't fantasized a time or two about Trey crawling to her one day, begging her to take him back. The highlight of the fantasy was the pleasure of rejecting him, just as he'd rejected her.